Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. There is supposedly a Texas worst kept secret when it comes to brisket cooks, and I'm going to share it with you guys on today's video. Stay tuned. All right, so let's talk about this Texas worst kept secret. So I received my Texas monthly newsletter, and in that article, Daniel Vaughn talks about a lot of barbecue joints in Texas using a secret ingredient that not a whole lot of us know about. That secret seasoning is Lawry's seasoning salt that a lot of pit masters are using on their briskets. Now, in that Texas monthly article, Daniel Vaughn talks about Aaron Franklin admitting to using the Lawry seasoning salt, but also Goldie's Barbecue, which was voted the #1 top barbecue joint in Texas. So one of the owners of Goldie's Barbecue has a YouTube channel called Jerby's Barbecue. On one of his videos, he actually admits to using the Lawry seasoning salt as well. Also, Chud's Barbecue did a video a few months back where he revealed a ton of Texas pitmaster secrets, and this Lawry seasoning salt was one of those secrets. All right, let's get to this Texas brisket cook. All right, let's glove up. Always wear a cut glove when you're using sharp knives. All right, so I'm starting with an 11-pound prime brisket, and this is a little guy, but you know what? This is all Costco had, and I took it. Not a bad looking brisket. All right, let's trim up this 11-pound brisket. You guys know I like to start by removing the decal off of these briskets. All right, so I'm just gonna take some of the silver skin and fat off the top of the flat here. Now you guys would be surprised how small the briskets are at a ton of these barbecue joints. I remember going to Franklin Barbecue a few years back, and I was the first one in line, and the first brisket that they pulled from their holding cabinet was a little guy. Now I'm not too worried about the silver skin. I just want to remove the majority of these fat pockets on top of the flat. All right, now this edge over here has a couple of cuts. And again, that's the way this came in the package. So I'm just gonna clean this up by taking a slight edge off. Save this for sausage. Last thing for the top side of the brisket is just to trim off the decal side right here. Get some of that oxidized meat off. All right, so the flat looks good. Let's trim up this fat cap. I like to expose that white fat. That's about where I stop, about 1/4 inch is what you want. All right, so one last thing that I'm gonna do to this brisket is just lower this mohawk a little bit. Just take it a little bit off the top. All right, so I've got the brisket trimmed up. Let's season up the flat first. I'm using a little bit of mustard as a binder. You wanna make sure your mustard is nice and smooth, where you can't see the lines or anything like that, because that will affect your bark and it might even wash off. All right, so the first rub I'm gonna apply is some coarse black pepper. Hold it really high. Get your edges. Second rub is some kosher salt. All right, next I'm going to add the secret ingredient, Lawry's seasoned salt. Again, I'm holding this pretty high. Just when you can see that color change on your brisket. That's all you want. And again, get your edges. All right, pat that rub down. All right, now let's season our presentation side. Same order, pepper, kosher salt, and our Lori seasoned salt. All right, so just pat the rub down and we'll see you guys outside. All right, so on this video, I'm gonna keep it Texas and I'm gonna be using my 1,000-gallon Bison smoker, and I'm gonna be using Texas Post Oak from Gourmet Wood Products. So if you guys are using any size offset smoker, I highly recommend this wood from Gourmet Wood Products. Check them out at Academy Sports and Outdoors. All right, let's light up this massive firebox. All right, so as you can see, I do have a small bed of charcoal. I'm just using regular Kingsford blue charcoal, and I'm gonna be using my grill gun from Grill Blazer. All right, that only took about a minute and a half. And if you notice, I didn't remove all the ashes from the firebox. I like to leave a little bit in there. Got bits of wood still left in there, and that's gonna give us a nice little coal bed. So at this point, I'm gonna get my splits of wood from Gourmet Wood Products and build myself a ladder. All right, just like that, I got about 8 splits of wood there. I'm gonna let this turn into coals, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, let's load up this brisket. I'm gonna be cooking this brisket on the second door from the firebox. All right, so here's the brisket. Point towards that firebox. So I am going to be placing a small split of wood right in front of that point, just so it doesn't get too hot and those edges don't get real crispy on me. So I'm going to let this brisket smoke for about 5 hours, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so 5.5 hours into our cook, and the pit has been running between 250 and 275. Right now I've got it at 275 on the far right side, and about 270-ish on that middle gauge. So let's take a look at our brisket. All right, so that bark is looking really nice. Got a little bit of pulling right here, but it looks like the fat is just dripping off the edge right here, so I'm not even gonna mess with it. That surface is a little bit dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and spritz with apple cider vinegar and water. Now you don't have to spritz if you don't want to, but I like to spritz again with apple cider vinegar and water. And that bark is feeling really good. Again, we're 5.5 hours into the cook, and that bark is looking really nice, but I still want to get it a little bit darker, so I'm gonna let it go for about another 1.5 hours, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so we are at the 8-hour mark, and I just pulled the brisket. Let's get an internal temperature to see where we're at. Ooh, that's tender. 170 on the flat, and 177 on the point. It's extremely tender. Check out that bark. Savage, right? Now I just have 1 sheet of butcher paper since this is a small brisket. And I think I could do it. So I'm just gonna spritz the butcher paper with apple cider vinegar and water to make it more pliable. A little bit on the brisket as well. Let's see if I can wrap it with 1 sheet of butcher paper. So far, so good. Oh yeah, easy. So I'm just going to tuck this excess butcher paper on the bottom. Just like that. It's going to go back inside the smoker, and I'll bring you guys back as soon as I pull it off. Stay tuned. All right, so the brisket is ready, and the total cook time was right at 11 hours. The temperature on the point was 201 degrees, and the flat was at 200 degrees, so pretty even there. Again, this is really tender. Now, I am going to hold this brisket overnight for about 12 hours, but I am going to open it up and let it cool down to about 160 degrees before I pop it in my PK100 smoker. Look at this bark. Ooh, man. Check that out. Beautiful looking bark. That fat is nice and yellow. That's a good indication that it rendered nicely. All right, so at this point, I'm just gonna rewrap this brisket, let it come down to 160 degrees. I'm gonna place this in my PK100 electric smoker at 150 degrees for 12 hours, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning. Stay tuned. All right, so it's the very next day, and the brisket was held for 12 hours at 150 degrees. And check it out, it's super tender in here. Let's take it out of the butcher paper and see how we did. I didn't add any tallow to this butcher paper. This is all from the brisket itself. Again, this was a prime brisket. Check this baby out. It is super tender, smells absolutely delicious. Let's slice into it. All right, let's see how we did on our brisket. Again, smoked for 11 hours and held for 12. I'm just gonna slice it right here in the middle. And again, this was only an 11-pound brisket, so it's a little guy. Beautiful smoke ring. Check that out. So far so good. It's nice and juicy. I am going to squeeze it a little bit just for the camera. And I am loving this. Check it out. Those juices are just draining out of this brisket. Here's the flat. You can see the fat is nice and rendered, and it's got a yellow color to it. So it rendered really nicely. I'm gonna take a few slices off of this. So again, the only thing that I did different on this cook as opposed to my other brisket cooks is we added that Lawry's seasoned salt. So we'll see if that did anything to the flavor. And I am really loving this brisket. Super juicy. Check that out. Good amount of pepper. Beautiful smoke ring. All right, let's see how we did on our point. Now you do want to remove this piece of fat that's right here. It's mainly fat most of the time. See that right there? Just toss that. I like to cut this piece right here a little thick. And grab your burnt ends. Man, that fat has a beautiful color. This is my personal favorite piece of the brisket right here. Got some burnt ends there. Remember that your point slices, you want to cut them just a little bit thicker. Again, this was a little brisket compared to what I'd normally smoke. So it got a little bit crispy here on the edge, but that's okay. All right, let's give this brisket a try and see how we did. All right, the moment of truth is Lawry's seasoning salt, Texas worst kept secret. Check this slice out. This is one of my favorite pieces of the brisket. You got the flat and some of that point. It's nice and juicy. Here we go. Okay. All right, so first of all, this brisket has an amazing smoky flavor to it, but I gotta tell you, when I bit into it, I picked up a little something extra. It's just extremely flavorful, a little bit salty. This is really good. All right, so this brisket is absolutely delicious. I gotta tell you that Lawry's seasoned salt really added another depth of flavor, and I am loving it. Let's try it burnt end. All right, so the flavors of this brisket are definitely coming to me in layers. I can definitely taste the smoke first of all, but then I get a little bit of saltiness and really amazing flavors. That pepper and saltiness is fantastic. So this was my first time ever trying Lawry's seasoned salt on a brisket, and I gotta tell you, I think it's here to stay. Check out the slice of the point. Man, is that money or what? Again, check out that fat is rendered absolutely perfect. Let's give this a taste too. Look at that. Man, I can't get over how good this brisket is. It is fantastic, and you know what? That fat is so full of flavor. All right, guys, so my overall thoughts on the Lawry's seasoned salt is that you have got to give it a try so you can see what I'm talking about. You really get a nice little saltiness on the top of that bark right there, and just a bunch of other flavors that were not present before in my briskets. Make sure you guys check out the description below. There you're gonna find links to many of the items that I use in this video, and a lot of my sponsors do provide you guys with a really nice discount. I hope you guys enjoyed this brisket video. If this is your first time to my channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. See ya.